You're on the plane, at 35,000 feet. And then you hear a grinding noise, like metal tearing. This happened. August 12, 1985, Japan Airlines Flight 123, a Boeing 747 carrying 524 people. At 24,000 feet, the rear pressure bulkhead ruptured. The vertical stabilizer, the tail fin, blew off. The plane had no steering, no rudder, no elevators. Captain Masami Takahama and his crew fought the aircraft for 32 minutes. Nosedived, climbed, nosedived again. They crashed into Mount Osutaka. Fire erupted. 520 people died. 4 survived. But here's what the wreckage told investigators. Bodies sat upright in the debris, unmarked, unburned. These people survived the impact. They survived the initial fire. The Japanese self-defense forces had a base 4 kilometers away. They didn't send rescue for 14 hours. They assumed no one could survive. By the time help arrived, those survivors were dead. They died waiting. Contrast this. United Airlines Flight 232, 1989, a DC-10. Engine fan disc shattered mid-flight. All 3 hydraulic lines severed. 0 flight controls. But Captain Al Haynes had 44 minutes of warning. He told passengers to brace. He told them what to expect. When the plane hit a cornfield in Iowa, 184 of 296 people walked away. Why? Because they were prepared for impact. The difference between 184 survivors and 520 dead wasn't the crash. It was the decisions made before the ground arrived. Here are the 5 decisions that determine who walks away. Decision 1. Choose your seat. Rear third of the cabin has a 32% fatality rate versus 39% in the front. But the real advantage is an aisle seat within 5 rows of an exit. In a fire, smoke drops visibility to 0 in under 30 seconds. If you're within 5 rows of an exit, you can navigate by hand. Decision 2. Dress for survival. Cotton resists fire. Synthetic melts to your skin. Long pants, closed shoes, long sleeves. In a post-crash fire, your clothes are your first layer of protection. Decision 3. Brace correctly. Feet flat on the ground. Forearms crossed on your thighs, head down. This prevents your head from snapping forward into the seat in front, then whipping back. It's not about the initial crash, it's about the 0.3 seconds after impact when your body wants to break itself. Decision 4. Count the rows before takeoff. Walk to the nearest exit. Count the rows of seats between you and that exit. Write it down if you have to. When visibility is 0, you navigate by touch, counting seat backs. This alone can cut your evacuation time in half. Decision 5. The 90-second rule. Aircraft are certified to evacuate all passengers using only half the exits in under 90 seconds. That's with lights on, with crew direction, no smoke. In a real emergency, you have less. If someone ahead of you is grabbing luggage, you don't wait, you don't argue.
After the Japan Airlines crash, psychologists studied survivor behavior. They found something disturbing. The passengers who survived didn't do anything extraordinary. They just moved. Everyone around them waited for the flight attendant, waited for instructions, waited even as the fuselage filled with smoke. Meanwhile, the one supposed to give instruction is nowhere to be heard. There's a name for this: authority bias. In a crisis, your brain defaults to whoever sounds like they're in charge. You assume the crew knows more than you do. You assume someone has a plan. On Flight 123, there was no plan. The crew was fighting a plane with no controls, and the passengers who waited died. What separates survivors from casualties isn't training, it isn't age, it isn't fitness. Survivors trust their own senses more than they trust the voice of authority telling them to stay put. Here's what you take from this. The 90 seconds after an emergency aren't about the pilots. They aren't about the flight attendants. They're about you and whether you move. Next time you board a plane, even a short flight, count the rows to the nearest exit. Write it down. Aisle seat if you can. Long pants, closed shoes. Not because you're paranoid, because the survivors on Flight 232 did exactly this. If this changed how you think about survival, hit like. It tells others this kind of education matters. If you have ideas for the next scenario, fire, stampede, building collapse, comment, subscribe. New what-if survival scenarios every week. No panic, no fantasy, just the physics, the psychology, and the seconds that matter. Watch the full video below. Count the rows to the nearest exit. Then ask yourself, in a crisis, would you move or would you wait?